Russia will end the year with a declining index of agricultural production, said the head of the Ministry of Agriculture Dmitry Patrushev, speaking on Tuesday, December 14, in the State Duma. This is due to the pandemic and natural disasters, but the country still cannot fully provide itself with milk and potatoes, purchasing it for import. The food embargo against the EU countries yielded certain results. Earlier, Russia increased its food security rating, but the profitability of agriculture in the country is still lower than in other countries due to the high cost of loans and low profitability of production, experts say. At the end of the year, we forecast a positive index in the agro-industrial complex. However, the agricultural production index will decrease due to objective factors, said Dmitry Patrushev, quoted by Interfax. According to him, the decline will be 2%. The outgoing year for agriculture, according to the minister, was extremely difficult. He blamed various natural disasters and a pandemic. The pandemic has indeed had a major impact on agriculture around the world, driving up prices. As noted in a study by the World Bank, due to the sharp rise in fertilizer prices, currency devaluation and labor shortages, food prices are increasing significantly. In turn, in the EU, the pandemic has spurred the reform of the EU's common agricultural policy, one of the goals of which is to implement up to 10% of direct payments to small and medium-sized farms. All is well with the export of agricultural products, Patrushev assured. In 2021, it will amount to $35 billion, the head of the Ministry of Agriculture said. The fact that Moscow is among the world's grain exporters, unlike the USSR, which bought grain abroad, is tirelessly repeated by Russian President Vladimir Putin. At the same time, Patrushev stated that Russia still cannot provide itself with the main national product, potatoes. As you know, the price of potatoes has risen significantly recently, and buyers already prefer to buy cheaper potatoes, which, as in Soviet times, need to be peeled from dirt for a long time. The producers have long warned the Ministry of Agriculture that there is a shortage of potato tubers in the country. The main reason, as the market players informed Kommersant earlier, is the increase in the level of processing. More and more potatoes are being processed, and in the subsidiary farms, where this product was traditionally grown, crops are being reduced. It is unprofitable for producers to grow potatoes and, as experts say, the industry needs strong state support, otherwise Russians will have more and more imports on their table. As Kommersant was told in the Ministry of Agriculture, if in 2020, 316.3 thousand tons of potatoes were purchased for import, this year it is already 1.5 times more. The main states from which everything is brought are Belarus, Azerbaijan, Egypt, and Israel. The situation is similar with milk, the needs of which Russia is still unable to meet. According to the market analysis portal Milk News, imports of dairy products to Russia have increased by 1% this year. At the same time, supplies from Belarus and non-CIS countries remained at the level of 2019, the experts of the portal note. The level of Russia's self-sufficiency in dairy products, according to preliminary estimates, amounted to about 84% to 85% in 2020, which may be the maximum result over the past 16 years. Excluding the non-commodity market, the level of self-sufficiency is reduced to 67%. Despite the bravado of officials, it was not possible to replace imported cheese either. Thus, according to market players, imports of cheese and cottage cheese increased by 14% in 2020. A difficult situation has developed with poultry meat, which is included in the daily diet of many Russians. Manufacturers are sounding the alarm, due to the fact that imports of products from China are delayed amid the pandemic. Feed mills may stand up. On the eve of Patrushev's speech, the manufacturers informed the first Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belousov about this. In Russia, only one plant produces such an important additive in compound feed as lysine, which cannot meet the needs of the market. However, Patrushev promised that in terms of poultry meat Russia will reach last year's figures. As for pork, here, according to him, Russia is in a negative trend due to swine fever, which is spreading throughout the world. This is not to say that everything is so bad. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, made in March this year, Moscow has almost doubled its position in the food security rating. Thus, according to the results of the 2020 ranking, Moscow took 24th place out of 113 countries of the world. True, Russia is still lagging behind Belarus, which is in 23rd place. The main supplier of not only milk and cheese, but also Belarusian shrimps. Minsk may soon turn out to be not in the best food form due to the food embargo from a number of countries. In Belarus, however, they are confident that Western sanctions will do good. I can say that sometimes sanctions help. We see the example of the Russian Federation, which, thanks to these measures, has made a huge step in the development of agriculture. Oleg Gaidukevich, deputy head of the International Affairs Commission of the Belarusian House of Representatives, told Izvestia News. Despite the fact that it was said in the High Kremlin offices that the food embargo was a sheer blessing, in reality it turned out to be not the case. Consumers note that after imported cheeses began to disappear from the shelves of Russian stores, the quality of Russian cheeses also deteriorated. Before that, many Russian players, including manufacturers of quite decent products, lived in a competitive environment, and this forced them to increase quality. In turn, in a recent study by the RAINAPA, the Gaidar Institute and the All-Russian Academy of Foreign Trade, it was noted that the main initiators of the sanctions, Great Britain, the USA, Canada, France, and Germany, did not suffer large losses, but, on the contrary, found new markets. As for the profitability of the Russian economy in Russia, then, according to Patrushev, this year, taking into account state support, it will amount to 23.4%. The profitability of agriculture in Russia is growing, but still lags behind many developed countries. According to experts, this is due to the high price of credit money at a low profitability of production, which is why the industry is experiencing a high risk of bad loans. As for 5% of loans for agricultural producers, they, as previously stated in the Northwest Research Institute of Agricultural Economics of the Russian Academy of Sciences, are received mainly by large holdings. All these problems will undoubtedly have to be addressed in the future, since, given the difficult situation in the world, it is food production that will become one of the main factors for the success of any country. In Soviet times, television reports often began with stories about the battle for the harvest, and newspapers published photographs of combine operators who threw tons of grain into the bins of their homeland. In many ways, this was propaganda. The real situation in the industry was completely different. Grain was purchased abroad, potatoes were harvested by students and soldiers, since there were not enough hands and power. Now the situation in agriculture is undoubtedly better, but caring for the bins of the homeland during a pandemic really becomes a battle for the harvest. Thank you for watching Tubros International. Please subscribe our channel so we can bring you more news about international trade, investment and business.